I mean, this is the type of math people need to do out there. So all those type of things get equated into it. And so if you do decide to have children, in your 30s, as far as to start having children, you do have to think about, how far you're going to have them apart, just from an age standpoint. And if you do, not saying have them in your 20s, but at least in your 20s, you will have that runway from a math standpoint of, okay, your kids can be maybe 3, 4 years apart to lessen that daycare burden on you, that childcare burden. However, you do got to go back in the trenches again in 3 and 4 years. My brother and I are 9 years apart. And so, my parents, just said, all right, we're going to do it again. Here I am. But you do have to talk about, that with your spouse. When you do have a kid and it's like, all right, do we want to wait another 3, 4 years to go through this? Or do we just want to be tired for a handful of years, be done with it? That is something that's real. But just from a math standpoint of having the kids far apart, that's something that people need to consider when I say they're doing the family planning, but when you get out here in the dating world, because people think they got all this time. It's like, it's not that you're old in your 30s, but people, and I'm like, all the things I say on the internet, I am against, like, yes, you're young in your 20s, but you're only getting older. I don't think people understand. You only get older every day. You don't get younger. Today is the youngest you're going to be, and you just get older every second. You get older and older, right? And so don't piss away your 20s, right? Yes, your 20s is a time where, since it's the youngest you're going to be relative, right, to 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s, right? You have time to make mistakes and you can still recover, but don't make mistakes because you don't want to operate in a position of wisdom, right? The best way, whatever the phrase is, I'm too tired right now. But you learn best from other people's mistakes. That's what a wise person does. You learn from other people's mistakes. Don't go make someone else's mistakes. Meaning, don't stop picking trash ass degrees. Or even if you aren't sure what you want to do, don't do undeclared. Just go to community college and pay cheaper. Don't pay all this extra money for undeclared. It's one of the worst. I would say this. I would say you can make the case that going undeclared, right, straight out of high school into college, is worse than picking some of these trash degrees, because you're intentionally paying more money for gen ed classes. Like, you don't know what you want. And so just go to community colleges to figure out what you want and pay less money for credits they're going to transfer. At least people who are declaring for a trash degree, at least we can say, hey, they knew what they wanted to do, even though it was, something that's not going to make them any money, and they're taking all of this debt for something that's not even going to be able to, pay it. But hey, at least I can say, at least you thought you knew what you wanted to do. There are so many factors when it comes to this childcare, because one thing that children don't just show up. All right, bro, all the parents out there, look, once a mistake, twice a habit. If you talking about you didn't know because you had your first kid, cool. But once you have one kid, if you decide to have a second one, I heard say, I'm talking about you out here struggling. Look, if the first kid is enough, everyone is different, but my goodness, if you don't have a kid, you don't know what sleep deprivation is. Now I see why it's against the law. Like, you cannot drive. It is insane. It's crazy also too to see your body be able to adapt on a 2-hour cycle, a sleep cycle, but it is insane. Those definitely first few weeks, but some people are still monsters. Some people are still going through it. Everybody's different. Our son, he's sleeping. He started sleeping around like 4 or 5 months through the night. So, we got our sleep back over here and we haven't had any sleep regression. Knock on serious wood. Right. I shouldn't even, talked about that. I do my best not to talk about it to jinx it. But just when it comes to childcare now, like, that I'm in these shoes, so I'm not speaking, from a place like, well, I don't have kids. No, now that I don't have kids, but now that I have a kid, and since I'm from the stay-at-home perspective, as far as my wife, so we don't have these daycare costs and so much into the finance, into the money. It's like, even as we're working, my wife's working to get 100% increase. That's another $1,500 or so. And right now, if she were to go to work and so my son would have to go to daycare, it would take up not all of, but a good amount, probably close to 75% or so of what she's currently getting as far as disability. She's at 90%, and it would be about half, probably around half of what she would get when she's at 100%. And that's like, okay, cool. And that's money that's always coming in. Then she'd be working, right? So she would obviously have to go work to offset that. And in Maryland, minimum wage, I believe, is $15. So by definition, she's doing a full-time job. She would offset it just, from the simple math. But it's like, is it worth it? Can we find a way to manage our money to give you some type of semblance of what it would be like if you were to work full time, right? Because you work full time and obviously earn enough to offset the cost of daycare and then have money on top of that, right? But like, how much money is it going to be? Now, for people in a situation where both of you are making well into the six figures, different conversation, right? But if you're looking at having less than 50% of the person who makes the least amount of money's income after paying for daycare, as far as just total, not like, they pay for it, but it's total out of your budget. If one person makes 6,000, one makes four, and daycare is 2,000, so the person makes the least amount, they got $2,000 left. It's like, what are we doing with $500 a week? What are you doing with $500 a week? Now, again, a lot of people, you got to go because you got to service this debt. We want to talk about that. All right, let's wrap up. In the largest metro area, New York, typical monthly cost childcare for two children is $2,634. Jesus Christ. Please come back and save us from this childcare cost, Jesus. While the typical on this lovely Sunday, while the typical monthly housing cost is $2,451, insane. According to Economic Policy Institute's Family Okay Budget Calculator, estimates the typical cost for a modest standard of living. All right. Oh my goodness. Again, excuse me, locked and loaded. End of the episode. Childcare costs more than a mortgage payment in 45 states and more than rent in all 50 states. Insane. There's no escaping it. Jessica Norwood said that she is spending 55% of her pre-tax household income on a mortgage and childcare. Again, this article is by Vanessa Wong. All right, that's it, y'all. Locked and loaded. End of the episode. Again, look, necessities, debt payments, investment, lifestyle. My goodness, childcare or your mortgage. Look, I say don't pay either. Find a way. Pay your mortgage. Childcare is great. And we're not even getting to the fact that you have to if you don't pick your child up on time, I believe they charge you fees about a minute. How did and again, I believe, comes like unfortunately, like a CPS type issue, right? Like you gotta come pick your kid up, right? And the contract, I believe, they're only watching your kid, like they're only responsible for your kid, like until this time, things of that nature. But like I heard they charging about a minute. It's like, what is going on? And when you add on again, it's not just daycare now, right? I found this one lady on TikTok who talks about, so she's talking about she hate men, but she's a mom, wife, whatever. So she got kids. So she's talking about this. She got 4 kids. She's talking about daycare and stuff. But she's talking about summer camp. It's June 2nd right now. You guys can hear this on June 3rd. But she talks about summer camp and how much summer camp is as well. It's like you got to pay for summer camp too. And then if you pay for daycare, it's likely you're going to also be paying for after school care, right? They're in school now, so you're not paying for daycare. You are paying for it in your tax dollars, right, for school. But you have to pay for maybe even before and after school. I did before and after school care, first grade and fourth to fourth grade. I stopped going for either in fifth grade. So I don't believe I did. I can't remember. I'm pretty sure my mom said I didn't do daycare. Military anyway. So now my mom was in and out of jobs, but military wife. So my dad said his job's moving him, so I gotta get another job.